Travis Gotti. We're here with True School Sports.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we up in this motherfucker, Los Angeles, the Forum.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What's going on, guys? Now, Steven Espinoza, Showtime Boxing, doing a hell of a job this year. They're putting on a lot of great fights. You know, we've already, so far this year, we've had Frampton Santa Cruz, DeGale Jack, Broner Granados, and then Garcia Thurman. And, you know, I was very skeptical of Showtime Boxing. You know, they didn't have the best year last year, or even in 2015. But Showtime Boxing has definitely made up for it in a huge way in 2017. And you've had Steve. You got to give Steven Espinoza, and then, you know, even Al Haymon as well, a lot of credit for what they've been able to do with Showtime this year. Because not only are they putting on really good fights, but they've also been able to just, you know, I feel, get their fights in front of more people's faces, like get more exposure for their fights, and they're doing that in new and innovative ways in the boxing world that hasn't been done before. Like, for example, when Granados fought Broner, I believe the Nielsen ratings came out, and it was about roughly 830,000 viewers. That's what they peaked out at. But that wasn't factoring in, they streamed the fight on Twitter, and you can go watch the whole fight for free on Twitter, and they didn't factor in those views. So they could have easily did well over 1 million views for the Broner Granados fight. So that's one way you get the fight into the hands of many fans, and basically just, you know, increase the visibility of your product. And not just that, but also what they've been able to do on two separate occasions with the whole Showtime on CBS thing, where they had the Showtime commentators on local TV here in CBS. And you saw what it did for the Garcia Thurman fight ratings-wise. Now, did the fight itself live up to the hype? Absolutely not. It didn't. It fell very short of my expectations and many people's expectations. But in terms of what it did numbers-wise, it averaged 3.7 million, 3.4 million, something like that, and then peaked out at 5.1 million, and that's great, because if you look at that night, you had basically the Bulls played the Clippers on ABC that night, and then you had North Carolina at Duke also playing that same day. So for boxing to do that well with those events going on, I think really shows that when you put the best fights on with the best fighting the best, you know, there's still a great audience out there for that. And the more they do that in boxing, the more people tune into these fights, and they familiarize themselves with not just the fighters in the main event, but the guys in the undercard, the more you can actually begin to grow the sport of boxing. Kind of do what the UFC did, which is, you know, create fans. So with that being said, if you guys don't know, the group of guys, Richard Schaefer and Cal Sutherland from the UK, and a couple other guys, they made this massive announcement for this, you know, tournament, which is going to be called the World Boxing Super Series, and it's going to be a bracket-style tournament with 2 weight classes, 8 fighters in 2 weight classes, and a $50 million purse, basically, to the winner. It'll be split up between 2 weight classes, and those weight classes are to be determined. There's still a lot of details being ironed out, and it looks really good. You know, like a lot of the guys that are involved with this project called the World Boxing Super Series are also the same people who were in Europe and overseas, worked with the Champions League soccer tournament, which is very popular. It's arguably one of the biggest sporting events in the world. You know, I would say the Super Bowl is #1, but the Champions League has a really great case for arguably being the biggest thing in the world. You know, a lot of people watch the Champions League, and it has a lot of the top soccer players. It's where a lot of the guys that we know in soccer become, you know, household names, is the Champions League. So the fact that you have guys who have worked with that now coming to boxing, I think it enhances the percentage of this being a success a lot. You know, it increases the percentage of this being a success a lot. In fact, the same people who made the Champions League trophy also made the Muhammad Ali trophy for the World Boxing Super Series winners. So I think that's a good thing they got going on there. But the reason I'm making this video, and I've been rambling a lot, Steven Espinoza, who's, like I said, has done a great job at Showtime, he's actually expressed his interest in getting the television rights to the World Boxing Super Series. So before I get into what he said, well, actually, I'll get into what he said first. Here's what he said in regards to the World Boxing Super Series and being interested in it. He said, I quote, "In terms of the organization itself, it's good for the sport. You look at the pedigree of those involved, you have people that are behind the Champions League. You look at when the Champions League was started, the European soccer as a juggle nest. There was no structure where you can see who the best team was. The Champions League concept is now behind the World Boxing Super Series, and in terms of our relationship, we have a framework in place that will be monitoring it very close, and as details come in, we wanted to let the organization announce itself And as details move in, and then to solidify fighter schedule dates, venues, and weight classes, once there's a clear picture, we'll see about the television rights and so forth. So he's already expressing a desire to have this tournament, which looks to be really well structured, have some good people in place that have been in boxing, who have established reputations in boxing. You know, Cal Sutherland promoted Michael Kessler and George Groves, has done some good things over there overseas. And, you know, we know what Richard Safer's done with, you know, Golden Boy and Al Heyman and whatnot. So you have some big names, some real professional guys, top level guys working on this project, and you know, hopefully, you know, it can have some of the same success that the Champions League has in Europe, because boxing needs a structure. A lot of the time in boxing, what we're lacking is a structure with drug testing, structure with even our scoring system, structure with how many rounds are being fought. You know, a lot of times draws happen just because there's an even number of rounds, and if they made the rounds an odd number, they could solve the draws. But, you know, with that being said, I think this provides just a little bit of structure in a sport that desperately needs it. If they're able to get, let's say, a division like 154, which has a lot of talent, you get a guy like Erickson Lubin and Julian Williams and Lara, Demetrius Andrade, you know, guys who may not be the biggest names, but the division is very talented. If they're able to, you know, get the television rights to this and make it a big thing and make these guys household names, you know, and for them to fight each other, you know, that only does great for boxing. And obviously we all want to see the welterweight tournament, but they've already said that that's probably not going to happen, because they're kind of already in the midst of a welterweight tournament as we're speaking. So I'm thinking off the rip, the two divisions that'll probably be picked for this tournament are cruiserweight and 154. Junior middleweight and cruiserweight seem to be the two most logical choices based on what they said and based on what we know on the weight classes, because cruiserweight is a very deep division, and so is 154 talent-wise. I don't know if they're going to be able to do heavyweight, but if they could get heavyweights into this, I would really like that. That'd be great for this tournament and the legitimacy of it. But yeah, Espinoza wants the television rights to this, and it could be very huge, because then, you know, it gives us a structured framework here in the States, to where, and not just for the fans, but more so for like Espinoza and promoters as well. Espinoza with the World Boxing Super Series can then say, if he gets the rights to it, well, we have this many dates. We have, you know, 3 dates in May we could do. We have this many dates in June we could do, and because there's a tournament in place, it makes it a lot easier for the fights to go down. And what I like what they're doing with this tournament as opposed to the Super 6, because as you know, the Super 6 had a variety of guys pulling out, so eventually it almost wasn't even like a tournament anymore, and we didn't get to see the best fight the best in every scenario. So what I like about this tournament is the fact that you're going to have, for every freaking bracket of the tournament, you're going to have reserves. So let's say, like, if at 147, if Kell Brook fights Amir Khan in World Boxing Super Series at welterweight, and Amir Khan, his chin gets injured for whatever reason, then, you know, he can't fight, and rather than the fight being called off, you'll then have a reserve or a number of reserves that you can then call upon to fight for Amir Khan. So then maybe Adrian Granados or someone else could fight Kell Brook instead, and it's going to be that way. And the guys who are named reserves for the World Boxing Super Series will be fighting on the undercards for the main events, which are on the bracket style tournament. So it all makes sense. It all seems like it makes a lot of sense, and it's ran by people who have been successful in boxing. And I'm hoping that, you know, Espinoza with the momentum Showtime has gotten, with the, I'm gonna say, creativity and ambition they've shown this year in many different ways, to get boxing more visible to more people. I would rather them get their hands in the World Boxing Super Series as opposed to HBO, with guys like Peter Nelson who are running HBO Boxing, which is a great franchise and a great you know, platform for boxing. He's running it straight into the ground because Peter Nelson has no clue what he's doing. But that's what it is, man. Steven Espinoza says he's very interested in the rights to the World Boxing Super Series, and he's been doing a great job. So this will be another great thing for Showtime. The World Boxing Super Series, its first fights are slated to happen in, they said, September. So they're supposed to happen in September. The draft for the World Boxing Super Series is going to happen in June. So yeah, stay tuned for more developments on the WBSS, and we'll keep you posted here on True School Sports. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Steven Espinoza wanting to acquire the television rights to the World Boxing Super Series. Leave your comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, and you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from doing it. So until next time, take care, guys.